Hey everyone, got a few parts that came in for the Sportster, so I'm just going to kind of review that stuff with you real quick. Also, I had an S&S Super E carburetor that I had previously purchased for one of the other Sportsters that I was trying to put together that I had to stop on. This was a El Cheapo. I had to helicoil. Both these holes were stripped out. I had to buy. This thing was missing. This was missing. The tube, the accelerator pump tube that transfers fuel out to the that squirter in there. Long story short, I spent the better part of probably a month making adjustments, changing jets, and I just flat never could get this thing to run right. So honestly, I don't have a very good track record with the S&S carburetors, to be honest with you. I just don't. I'd much prefer the Mikunis. Actually, on my drag bikes, my inline four Kawasaki's back in the day, I ran Electrons. So I like those very much. They just, there's no jets. There's the needle, you can raise and lower the height of the needle, quarter turn at a time. It has a flat on it. It has to face a certain direction. But anyway, I can put a Mikuni HSR on the bike for, I don't know, $300 and some. I can, Electron's $780 for a single, I think it's a 38 millimeter Billetron, whatever they call it now. They got them kits made for Harleys. I do know what I'm getting when I buy that carburetor, because I know how adjustable they are, and they're real easy. Doesn't take much. You can, especially on Harley sticking out the side of the bike there, you can just take a couple screws out of the top slide, pull it out, adjust the needle, drop it back in, go. Mikuni HSR, on the other hand, you know, you could probably get one of those jet removal tools and just drop the plug out the bottom of the bowl, and you could probably still do that on the bike. Imagine it would be too bad, but you got air mixture screws, you got all that other stuff to screw with. With the Electron, you don't have that. I'm probably going to run oxygenated fuel on this bike. Not while I have the CV carburetor on there, because that's just too much jetting. I have to screw with it all the time trying to get it to run right. But when I'm on the final version of this bike with whatever carburetor I decide to run, I'm going to run oxygenated fuel just for that extra kick. All right, on with this. So again, when I had purchased that Super E for that other Sportster I was working on, I bought an intake manifold. And when I put the stock stuff back on, I just kept this in a box. I don't know if there's any flow value to it, if it's like that much better than an OEM intake manifold, but I'm probably going to put it on that bike when I do upgrade the carburetor. Just, it's pretty good flow there. It's big manifold. I had that laying around in a box. Let's see. I think these are Vans grips. Made by ODI. They're really lightweight. This is the one that fits on the throttle tube. The other one's on the handlebars, but I think I paid, might have bought these off of Amazon actually for, yeah, like $19. You can get them 1-inch bars or 7/8 bars. And speaking of bars, let me show you the bars. Y'all saw those hippie chrome mini apes or whatever was on that bike. I bought these. They're just a simple black. You would have to drill this out to run the wires through the bars, but it does have the dimples to make room for the wiring where anybody's had the handlebars off of a Harley, you know what that's for. I'm going to have one set of wires on the throttle side. I'm going to utilize that switch housing on the throttle side for my on-off and a start. So I'll probably will drill here and run the wires through just this part of the bar, just a you know, so I don't have them zip tied to the handlebar. All racing sanctioning bodies require you to have a tether kill, like you would see on a jet ski, that when you fall off of it, it cuts the engine. You have to have one on anything that you're racing as far as the bike goes. Can't find anything that mounts to a 1-inch bar, all the usual manufacturers except Pingle, and it's like $130 some for that thing. So I'm probably going to fabricate a little plate to go on the bar clamps to mount something on there. I don't know. I'm not paying $138 for a kill switch, so that's not going to happen. I can buy a $50 MPS one, which I've ran on my bikes for years, and bolt it to some kind of a bracket, I guess, or maybe just take an end mill and plunge cut it, and so it'll fit the 1-inch bar. I don't know if I can do that or not, but it's a 16th on the side. It should be doable. It's 62 thousandths. Yeah, it's 125 thousandths overall. So, what else we got here? It has a breather tube. It goes between the two cylinder heads. It kind of arches over and then drops down. Has a tube. I've ran these things before. Had a lot of good luck with them. They're basically a breather bolt. They're aluminum. They're real lightweight. They take the place of that tube. And when you're running in any kind of an aftermarket air, which I'm running a velocity stack, so there's not going to be an air filter housing on it. But these things were, I think, $40 on Amazon. You can get them from Lowbrows. You can get them from Sporty Parts. You can get them from TC Brothers. But these ones were like $40. They got an extra spare foam little deal there, because you take that snap ring out and change that foam, because basically it breathes. It ventilates the engine right there. It's a little breather. There's one on each head. I can't remember where these came from, but they were about $5 cheaper than TC Brothers. And speaking of TC Brothers, this right here is the sprocket cover. This replaces the original OEM sprocket cover. I went with these guys. They weren't necessarily the cheapest one out there, but they were the only ones offering this in black. The rest of them were billet polished. I don't want any of that shiny shit on my bike, man. I'm trying to black it out. So this thing's considerably lighter than the original. And when I go to fabricate a chain guard, I can just thread and tap into this thing and make a little stand or whatever to mount the chain guard on. But yeah, this will work. This is your pipe, that big long stud that comes out the side of the case for your pipe to mount on. This is for your mid control, your master cylinder mounts here, and then depending on the year of the bike, you're going to use one of these two holes, and then these other two right there, rather 1, 2, and 3, to mount the thing to the cases. So when I do take that thing down to oh, by the way, this comes with all the fasteners and the spacers and stuff. I'm not going to show you that stuff. It's there. When I do take that engine off and take it down to replace the flywheels in it, there's a place 40 miles, 35, 40 miles from me that does vapor blasting, vapor honing, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to get the cases vapor honed. All the side covers, the primary, the cam cover, all that stuff. I'm going to have my buddy Sean Cerakote that stuff black. For the time being, I'm going to run like the original shocks. They're chrome plated, but there's a couple companies making, I think FCR, which is my old suspension sponsor from when I raced motocross back in the day. They're making what they call works shocks for Sportsters. I don't know if I need all that for a drag bike. Basically what you want when you're setting one up to drag race, you want the back end to drop rapidly, which means you don't want much compression. You want it to drop rapidly, and you want the rebound slow so that the bike stays planted while it's taking off. It doesn't do this. You want it to drop and stay and then gradually raise, So getting any kind of a OEM Harley shock to do that is, it's not gonna happen. So, I can run the springs in the lightest setting so it does drop quicker, but it's not gonna stay planted. It's gonna probably bounce a little bit, but I may fool with it and do whatever I can, maybe somewhere in the middle on the spring range to get it to act as right as I can. So I'm gonna ride this thing stock wheelbase at first. I'm gonna put a travel limiting strap on the front. That's really handy when you're riding stock wheelbase bikes. I know the Harleys are particularly prone to wheelie them just because, it's not because they make a bunch of horsepower, it's just because they make a lot of torque. So that's what actually drives the Harley down the road, is the torque. It's definitely not the horsepower. Like my 2020 Road Glide Special has a 114 Milwaukee 8. I don't know, was that thing 80 some horsepower, 90 horsepower from, off the showroom floor? But it's got gobs of torque, man. It will snatch front wheel off the ground without a problem. But, so trying to overcome that and make it, smooth and ride it out. The gearing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the gearing. I'm going to put a chain drive conversion on it, take the belt stuff off of it. From a budget standpoint, you can change, you can go like down, I think 21 or 22 is a stock. If you're replacing sprockets or replacing your pulleys with sprockets, they say to run I think it's a 22 and a 48 in general. I mean, there's no exact science to it, but I'm probably going to start with a 20 on the front and a 50 on the back. Now I want to go with a 50 on the back because the idea is to utilize the torque that the thing does make and not have it wheelie real bad. One of the telltale signs you don't have it geared steep enough is the thing will, the engine will bog down when you launch it. The RPMs will drop real bad, and then you got to wait for it to wind back up. Ideally, you want to keep the RPMs high. I've seen videos, and I've seen guys launching those bikes at 7,000 RPM. I don't understand that. It's beating the shit out of the motor. It's not, whatever. I had a low 9-second Suzuki old water-cooled bike that I launched that thing at 3,000 RPM, and I had it geared perfectly so I could just slip that clutch and get that baby going, and it stayed right in the meat of the power all the way down the track. So I understand the Harley may be a little bit more of a challenge, but if I start with a 50 on the front, my theory is every time I drop one tooth in the front, I'm raising the back 3. You drop one, it's the same as raising 3. This means every time I change gears, I don't have to buy a chain or cut the chain, and so on and so forth. So if I want to drop it one tooth in the front, it's just going to kick the wheel back a little bit more. That's a win anyway. You're making the bike a little bit longer, but anyway, those are things to consider when you're buying stuff for these to start out with. There's no solid reason why I would start with those particular numbers like I discussed. That's just what I'm going to try to start with, and I figure if it's not enough, I can always drop the front one tooth. That sprocket's considerably cheaper, and I won't have to buy a longer chain for putting a bigger sprocket on the back. So probably one of the first things I'll have to work out is to get the thing, because I'm not going to rev it to the moon launching it. I'm just going to let it eat, let that torque do its job, and that. So I don't think I got anything else to show you guys today. Anyway, stay tuned for the next episode. Like and subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll get notified when the next video on this bike comes out. Right now I've got it put away and covered up. I'm waiting on a few more parts, and then I'll do a video on putting some of that stuff on, changing it out. I'm going to pull the wiring. I already got a considerable amount of other stuff stripped off the bike that didn't need to be there, so it looks quite a bit different. And I'll be able to see that on the next video. So stay tuned, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and y'all have a good day.